So our topic today is going to be talking about PC culture. So does anyone want to start?
All right.
We
So
said it'd be a debate, not arguments.
yeah, I mean, I guess it can go either way. But I mean,
Okay. Here, let me just say one of my observations.
all right.
Some people take PC culture way too far. Okay?
What?
As in, sometimes there's a line between. It's like you look at comedy. You look at like Dave Chappelle, right?
Yeah.
When he was in like 2003 with his Chappelle show, everyone was like, "Oh, this is hilarious," and now everyone's like, "Oh my god, this is so offensive," and he's actually toned it down.
He doesn't do the Chappelle show anymore.
Yeah,
That's how much like PC culture's got to.
Yeah, like.
Right, it's not, but like PC culture isn't about like, I mean, I understand that people see it as like, oh, you can't be funny anymore, you can't say whatever you want anymore, but it's also about like making sure people are included in a community, especially as our like world becomes more like, I wouldn't say like open-minded, but like like the world is accepting more and more, like, for example, with the gay pride parade and like women's rights and all of this, like we need to somehow make a nice community.
Yeah, but shouldn't that be in the present day? I mean, like, in a lot of senses, they're like, they're taking it back into history. I mean, there was this game called Battlefield 1, and it's about World War 1, and these women brought up an argument saying, why weren't there any girls in the game? And that's basically saying,
Well, same with Dunkirk too. Cause like there were,
same with Dunkirk, why aren't there any women in the battlefield?
Or black people in the battlefield.
Yeah, except there weren't any.
Like historically.
Actually, there were black people in like.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Like you shouldn't look back into the history because obviously like they're different. Like the status quo is like different, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Now, the thing is with the Chappelle show though, and other things, that they actually made people feel more connected, mostly because of the people they were satirizing. Like for example, black people. Like I think they've in general Chappelle is really good at mocking like their sense of I guess their lifestyle in general and things that they did, which appealed to not only people of the African American race but also people outside of it because it gave them further insight on things and relatable things that their interactions like applied to outside races. I think the same applies to shows like the Boondocks, where it's actually really funny. It's actually pretty poignant social commentary because it touches upon these things that are considered taboo, but at the same time connects people in a kind of some weird and ironic way.
The thing about this is that like these shows, these things, they make fun of everything.
That's pretty true.
They make fun of everything. They're not exclusive in like what they make fun of. You also look at like South Park. They make fun of everything.
But like, okay, so I read this book called Bad Feminist, and she was basically talking about how comedians, they have to make jokes for like a living, and they the funniest ones are the ones that are like racist or like homophobic or like rape. And she was talking about like how you can't do that because it degrades, like it makes the issue like less important, as if like you can just like oversee it and like overlook it, but it's actually something important. So I think it's different. Like if it affects you, it's kind of not funny. Like for us, we kind of like if people stereotype against Asians, like we feel like, I don't know about you guys. Like, don't you guys feel like a little bit offended?
I mean, there's no funny jokes against Asians, so that's how it kind of gets to me. Because if it's funny and creative, I'll buy into it. But if it's just or your eyes are small and you eat
like, do you guys think rape jokes are funny?
No.
Right.
Because rape
like
is rape's more of like a universe. It doesn't matter what race you are. Anyone can commit rape.
It's a gender. It's not even a gender crime. It's like
everyone. It's an everyone crime. Everyone can commit it. It's still a horrible thing.
It's like murder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's almost on the equivalent
of murder. So you're
murder.
saying that there's a line like between in PC culture, like some is acceptable.
Right.
So what would you say is acceptable?
That's actually a pretty good question because the line's drawn for so many different people, and some people define the line as being here or there or wherever.
What do you guys think about people saying retarded? Because personally, I don't use it.
Right.
Because I think it's
offensive
and rude.
But honestly, like when you think about it, people who often like push for PC culture, they often think of other people as inferior. It's like, wow, that's immature. You're so immature. Like you said retarded. Listen, that's offensive. And listen, kid, like you shouldn't say that word because it's not cultured. That's basically what they're saying. and you look like that. That's and I'm gonna connect this to politics. You look at liberals and conservatives. Okay, so what are the names liberals have for conservatives? Like, what are the bad words?
Racist.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Alt-right.
Homophobes.
homophobes.
Mm-hmm.
And what do they have for liberals?
Cucks.
Libtards.
Libtards. Cucks.
Yeah, like-
SGWs.
SJWs.
Mhm.
You look at that contrast in what they call each other. It's like,
I mean, you should just be like aware of your like surroundings too. Like that's what I'm saying.
in what way?
Like, I mean, you never know like what people are like offended about. You know, like you should always be mindful of what you say. Like, you can't just go in public and say like the N word because people actually take that like into consideration and people like.
But isn't that domestication basically? You're adding more societal rules that we have to comply by. It's not even like
But it's
you shall not kill.
It's
like,
not a societal rule. I think it's just like.
no, but there is free speech.
It's right, but okay. Free speech doesn't mean like free speech means you can say whatever you want, but that doesn't mean you don't have consequences, right? You know what I mean?
It's not really legal consequences per se. It's more like society itself will shun you because you do something like this. For example, you can say the N word to in the meanest of contexts to someone to an African American individual, and legally that's okay. You won't have any repercussions for that. But will you get beat up by the black guy? Who knows? I mean, that's something that the law really isn't accountable for. And you're the only person who's accountable for that.
Yeah, I mean, I think we have like a responsibility to make like not. And this is kind of extreme, but I mean, you should always be aware of like what you're saying. Especially in like diverse places, like in schools.
That's true.
Like you don't go to college and just like say whatever you want because it's your opinion. Like you can have your own opinion, but don't be so like, don't force it upon other people.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that your opinion that you're forcing upon us?
But I'm not forcing anything. It's just this is just my.
Her opinion is to express your opinions.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's-
okay.
it's-
Her opinion is to curb your opinions.
It's to curb
No,
your
it's not
opinions.
curbing your opinions, but I mean, there's a. Again, like,
Regulation.
She's forcing our
Regulation.
opinion that we should
Right.
not force our opinions on.
But but let me say, there's a difference between having an opinion about like, oh, you like chocolate more than like vanilla ice cream. Like, I don't care about your opinions. Like, say whatever you want about that. But when it comes to like, oh, I hate gay people, like that's an opinion that can affect other people, and like make people feel like insecure and scared. So there's like a difference between opinions, you know.
And to be fair, there are a lot of people would be insecure or scared if you preferred one ice cream flavor or another.
Right.
There's some people who are as
I
petty
mean,
as
I
that.
don't really care about that.
Are you sure?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, okay, but once again, there are a lot of people who care about ice cream flavors.
Right,
They're
but
really
I mean
petty
that's
things.
subjective.
But it's like, yeah, exactly. That line is subjective in itself because yeah, there are a lot of people who get offended over petty things, but at the same time, why if you say I hate gay people in comparison to I hate chocolate ice cream, like what's the discrepancy there? It's like it's just
No, but
you still affect people though at the end of
here's
the
the
day.
thing. You can compare it to video game violence, okay? Just because a video game is violent doesn't necessarily mean you're gonna commit crime, except people get desensitized to violence, but that doesn't necessarily mean they're gonna actually commit it. That applies in the same context as people who use like racial slurs, but they're not gonna commit any racial crimes. And it's like,
What do you mean by racial crimes?
no, it's like they're not gonna act upon what they believe in or what they see. It's
I
like-
mean that isn't true though. Like I mean, okay, yeah, that's true for some people, but
They are susceptible to that though.
yeah.
they're susceptible, but it's like this.
It's very likely
There's-
they will.
What people don't like is people who say that there is a correlation between violence and real life violence, because to those people there is no correlation. And especially when people are like, you see like there's video game ratings, there's E for everybody, there's T for teens, there's M for mature. You see someone who's criticizing a teen game for its violence, that seems kind of like, to them, they seem really soft, because you've already been desensitized. And that's why they call people snowflakes, it's because they can't handle it. To those
Okay,
people,
but it's not about
people are
handling it. It's
no.
not about your tolerance.
No.
It's about perspective.
People are to their perspective, people are taking it to their to its extremes, as in PC culture. They're taking even the slightest things in their opinion.
Right. No, I also agree with you on that. Like, I don't believe in like an extreme PC culture because like censorship isn't always the best thing to go. Like, what do you guys think about like trigger warnings? like in class.
I don't think you really need them. I mean,
But okay, the argument against that is that you don't know what it feels like to be like a rape victim, right? Like you don't have that perspective. To us, like talking about rape in class has no effect on us because, well, we've never been through it.
to be fair, we are racial minorities.
Yeah.
And
Right,
so
but
we
not
do
in this
experience
school.
that.
But
That's true.
here's
Not
the
in
thing,
this
though.
school.
It's like when people say like you're not allowed to talk about rape, but they've never been victims themselves. Do they have the right to tell people not to talk about it? Because do people have no empathetic experiences with it?
That's true.
Are they deserving to condescend other people for saying something that they
Well,
have no
I don't think it's
experience with?
condescending. I think those people kind of represent this voice for like those people who feel like.
But do those people want to be represented? Do those people want their position to be assumed by someone who has no experience of their position?
We would never know.
We'll never know.
That's true.
And
I
this
mean,
is-
but
it's like-
how would you guys react to a person, maybe like a rape victim, telling you, hey, I want trigger warnings for this class because I just want to feel
In
safe.
that case, that they have the ethos, and we have no reason not to
Right.
not to follow them. Because if here's the thing, depending on the type of personality of the rape victim, they could either want to have their opinions heard or not. And so once again, it depends on the person, not what like, and also, it really depends more on the person rather than he or she's actually been raped. In my opinion.
Yeah, like a lot of people get offended for things that they have no experience about. It's like they're offended because it might offend other people.
Like some white people on your point, you know, like how some white people are offended for black people, even though some things that black people wouldn't find offensive.
Yeah.
Like for example, yeah, hard to find examples, but it has
No,
right
yeah,
now.
no,
But
I-
still,
I-
it's so
I-
prevalent, yeah.
People have no empathy in these situations. For example, a rape victim, they might have like gotten over it. They might have been like, okay, I'm better than this. Okay, this is of no concern to me anymore. But instead, if people keep bringing it up, if people keep treating it as such a delicate subject, then it becomes such a delicate subject.
So they're no longer seen as a person, but more of a statistic.
Yeah, they're more seen as and it's like they're seen as more like a glass football. Okay. And the slightest error might break it in their eyes, and that honestly feels really condescending to those victims.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, I don't believe in like total censorship because I think we should create a space where we can talk about certain things. But I mean, again, there's like a line, you know.
No, but honestly, it's life. You get offended in life, and the point of life.
Right, but there's a difference between you being offended by like somebody liking vanilla ice cream versus somebody. There's like a line, you know. That's what
Yeah,
I'm trying
but
to say.
people
see what
have to
you mean,
build
though. I see what you mean.
resilience. It's like
Like you think that people that with trigger warnings and with censorship we're like coddling people, like putting like shields on them and protection, right? But then sometimes but then that's from your perspective, someone who's never been through any like traumatizing experience, I hope, right? So it's like a different perspective. Like I try to see both perspectives.
That is true.